The year was 1939. The world stood on the precipice of a conflict that would reshape history. The echoes of the First World War still lingered, but a new storm was brewing, one that would be far more devastating. The world watched in horror as the flames of war engulfed Europe. Cities that had once been bustling with life were now reduced to smouldering ruins. The relentless bombings left no corner untouched, and the cries of the innocent echoed through the night. Nazi Germany, led by Adolf Hitler, was a formidable force. His speeches, filled with venom and vitriol, rallied a nation behind a dark and twisted ideology. The Nazi military parades showcased their might, a chilling reminder of their ambitions. The Nazis had overrun much of the continent. Their armies were powerful, their strategies ruthless. With each passing day, more territories fell under their iron grip, and the map of Europe was being redrawn with blood. Their hunger for conquest seemed limitless. Victory after victory emboldened them, and the swastika became a symbol of fear and oppression. The world watched in trepidation, wondering where the Nazi war machine would strike next. In this dark hour, a sense of urgency gripped the Allied nations. Leaders from across the globe convened in war rooms, strategizing and planning their next moves. The stakes were higher than ever, and failure was not an option. They knew they had to defeat Hitler. The speeches of leaders like Churchill and Roosevelt galvanized their nations, instilling a sense of duty and resolve. The Allied troops, though outnumbered and outgunned, prepared for the battles ahead with unwavering determination. But the cost of victory was already impossibly high. The battlefields were littered with the bodies of the fallen, and the cities bore the scars of relentless bombardment. The human toll was staggering, and the end seemed nowhere in sight. Millions of lives had been lost, families were torn apart, and communities were decimated. The graves of soldiers and civilians alike stood as silent testaments to the horrors of war. The mourning was universal, a shared grief that transcended borders. Entire cities lay in ruins. Once vibrant neighborhoods were now nothing more than piles of rubble. The infrastructure that had taken decades to build was destroyed in mere moments, and the task of rebuilding seemed insurmountable. The world yearned for an end to the bloodshed. Refugees filled the streets, carrying with them the hope of finding safety and peace. Prayers for an end to the conflict were whispered in every language, a collective plea for mercy and respite. Little did they know, a new and even more terrifying chapter in human history was about to begin. The Manhattan Project, shrouded in secrecy, was racing towards a breakthrough that would change the nature of warfare forever. The atomic age was dawning, and with it, the potential for unprecedented destruction. Word reached Allied intelligence that Germany was developing a new kind of weapon. This information was not just a rumor, it was backed by credible sources and alarming reports. The Allies knew they had to act quickly and decisively. This weapon was not a gun or a bomb in the traditional sense. It was something that defied the conventional understanding of warfare. The scientists and military strategists were both intrigued and horrified by the possibilities. It was something far more powerful, something born from the splitting of an atom. The concept of harnessing atomic energy was revolutionary, yet it carried with it the potential for unprecedented destruction. They called it the atomic bomb. This new weapon had the potential to change the course of history, to end wars in a single devastating blow. The race to develop it was on. The thought of Hitler possessing such a weapon was chilling. The Nazi regime, already known for its ruthless tactics, would have an unparalleled advantage. The balance of power in the world was at stake. The atomic bomb had the power to level entire cities in an instant. The devastation it could cause was beyond anything humanity had ever witnessed. The images of Hiroshima and Nagasaki would later serve as grim reminders of its destructive capability. The stakes of the war had reached a terrifying new level. Soldiers on the battlefield and civilians at home lived in constant fear of what might come next. The psychological impact was immense. The Allies knew they had to develop their own atomic bomb before it was too late. The Manhattan Project was launched, bringing together some of the greatest scientific minds of the time. Figures like Enrico Fermi and Robert Oppenheimer worked tirelessly, knowing that the fate of the world could depend on their success. The race against time had begun, and the outcome would shape the future of humanity. In response to the Nazi threat, the United States embarked on a top-secret mission, the Manhattan Project. This massive undertaking brought together the brightest minds in science and engineering. Their goal was simple, yet daunting: build an atomic bomb before Germany could. The project was led by General Leslie Groves, a no-nonsense military man, and J. Robert Oppenheimer, a brilliant physicist. Together, they oversaw the construction of secret facilities across the country. One such facility, in Los Alamos, New Mexico, would become the heart of the project. Building an atomic bomb was a challenge unlike any other. Scientists were working at the very edge of human knowledge. They were exploring the uncharted territory of nuclear physics. The science behind atomic energy was complex and dangerous. The process of nuclear fission, which powers the atomic bomb, involves splitting the atom. This releases an incredible amount of energy. Harnessing this energy was a monumental task. It required vast resources, cutting-edge technology, and the tireless efforts of countless individuals. Section 5. Trinity Test, the dawn of a new age. After years of intense work, the Manhattan Project reached a pivotal moment. On July 16, 1945, the world's first atomic bomb was detonated in the New Mexico desert. The test, codenamed Trinity, was a success. The explosion was unlike anything humankind had ever witnessed. It vaporized the steel tower on which the bomb sat. The desert sand melted into glass. A mushroom cloud soared miles into the sky. The atomic age had begun. Section 6, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, a world changed forever. With the Trinity Test a success, the United States now possessed the most powerful weapon ever created. World War II was nearing its end, but the conflict in the Pacific raged on. The decision was made to use the atomic bomb against Japan. On August 6, 1945, an American B-29 bomber dropped an atomic bomb on Hiroshima, Japan. The city was instantly devastated. Tens of thousands of people were killed. 3 days later, another atomic bomb was dropped on Nagasaki. Again, the destruction was unimaginable. Section 7. The legacy of the bomb, living in the atomic age. The bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki brought a swift end to World War II. Japan surrendered shortly after the second bombing. The world had entered the atomic age, but the victory was bittersweet. The use of atomic bombs had ushered in a new era of potential destruction. The legacy of the atomic bomb is complex and multifaceted. It is a story of scientific achievement and unimaginable destruction. It is a reminder of humanity's capacity for both great good and great evil. Section 8. The nuclear threat today, lessons for the future. In the decades since World War II, the world has lived under the shadow of nuclear war. The Cold War saw the United States and the Soviet Union amass vast arsenals of nuclear weapons. The threat of nuclear annihilation loomed large. While the Cold War has ended, the nuclear threat remains. Several countries possess nuclear weapons. The risk of nuclear terrorism is a constant concern. The lessons of Hiroshima and Nagasaki are as relevant today as they were in 1945. Section 9. The hope for peace, a world without nuclear weapons. Despite the challenges, there is hope for a future free from the threat of nuclear war. Many people around the world are working towards nuclear disarmament. They believe that these weapons are too dangerous to exist. International treaties and organizations are dedicated to reducing the number of nuclear weapons. Scientists, diplomats and activists are working together to find solutions. The goal of a world without nuclear weapons is a challenging one, but it is a goal worth striving for. Section 10. Conclusion, our shared responsibility. The creation of the atomic bomb was a turning point in human history. It was a moment that forever altered the course of our civilization, bringing forth a new era of both unprecedented technological advancement and existential threat. It marked the beginning of the nuclear age, an era defined by both immense promise and peril. The power harnessed by splitting the atom held the potential for great progress. Yet it also introduced the spectre of annihilation on a global scale. The legacy of the bomb is a sobering reminder of our capacity for destruction. The devastation witnessed in Hiroshima and Nagasaki serves as a stark testament to the horrors that can be unleashed by these weapons. The mushroom clouds that rose above these cities are etched into our collective memory as symbols of unimaginable loss and suffering. But it is also a call to action. The voices of those who have stood against the proliferation of nuclear weapons remind us that we have the power to change the course of history. The treaties signed and the protests held are steps towards a world where such devastation is no longer a threat. We have a shared responsibility to ensure that these weapons are never used again. This responsibility transcends borders and generations, calling on each of us to advocate for disarmament and to support diplomatic efforts aimed at reducing nuclear arsenals. We must learn from the mistakes of the past and work towards a future where peace and diplomacy prevail. The lessons of history teach us that the path to lasting peace is paved with dialogue, understanding, and cooperation among nations. The future of humanity may very well depend on it. By fostering a culture of peace and mutual respect, we can build a world where the shadow of nuclear war no longer looms over us. It is a future where our shared responsibility is embraced, ensuring a safer, more harmonious world for generations to come.